Hello there. How you doing? I'm just getting set up here so that we can start the show at 9 o'clock. We're pretty close to it. We got like 2 minutes. So I'm going to do my check and make sure that all of the little duckies are in a row here. Hopefully. I hope everybody's having a good night. We're going to continue. Actually, we're going to wrap up the conversation we've been having all month about finding a job. All the things to do, some tips about how to make it successful faster, all that kind of good stuff. So we're just going to jump in here. I'm making sure that, okay, good. Looks like Periscope's coming up. And all right, YouTube. So all we're waiting on is Facebook, which always takes a little bit longer. Because, you know, that's the way it goes. Something always has to be a little bit behind schedule, right? Okay, so while we're waiting here, we got 2 minutes. So we've been talking all month about how to find a job, little tips and all that kind of stuff. Job hunting is one of the most, stressful things. I think it's right up there with death of a spouse and moving a house and all that kind of stuff. But it's important to remember that you're not alone, that you're not the only one that's been through this, that there's people you can reach out to, counting us, and that there are things that you can do to help yourself. I mean, looking for a job is a full-time job. There's no two ways about it. But also that, you will find it. As long as you put in the effort, eventually you're going to find a job. And what's important is to make sure that it's the right job for you. You don't want to just take any job. You spend a lot of time at work. A lot of your day is spent at work. So why not, find something that at least you're going to enjoy on whatever level is important to you. So let me just get all of the things going here so that we can dive in on this. I am curious. Oh, okay. So I want to make sure that the chat is working. I was told last time that there was a problem with the chat on YouTube, but it looks like it's up. So let me just double check it here. Okay. Okay, so that is up. And I'm going to shut this down. Okay, so let me start off with my screen here, and then we can dive on in. Hello and welcome. Thanks so much for coming by. Tonight we're going to wrap up the topic for the month of January, which has been the job hunt. How to build your resume, where to go look for job postings, how to maximize the potential of your resume and your samples so that you get that job that you're looking for. It's a lot of work. There's just no two ways about it. If you put the work in, and you make sure that you've got all the details taken care of, you will find a job. I promise you that. So we're here to help you. Hopefully some folks will be able to join us live. There were some conversations that I was having offline, and so I opened up the option of coming to join here to a larger group than we would normally have here. And we will share whatever tips we can so that your job search can be better. Learn from all of our experience. No sense in reinventing the wheel. You might as well benefit from our experience, right? Okay, so hang on. Let me just make sure. Okay, I don't know why I'm getting a message about I can't use ads in videos since I'm not running any ads. That's really not a problem for me. Whatever. Sometimes the little bots just need to do their thing so that they feel like they're contributing. Okay. So I'm still not sure why that's doing that, but okay, whatever. Let me try refreshing it. And one more. Okay. I can't believe that I'm going to need a bigger screen. Okay. Deans 4267 over on Periscope. Thanks so much for coming by tonight. I am so glad that you could make it. So don't feel shy. So whether you are here because you are looking for help with your resume, your job hunt, or if you're here to share your own tips and experience, or if you're a hiring manager that wants to give the point of view from the other side, please feel free to dive in, put your comments, your questions in whichever chat, and we will all benefit then from everybody's experience. Okay, I'm not really sure why that's doing that, but that's okay. Hey, we'll work around it. Oh wait, it says that there's a comment. There we go. I knew that comment was hiding. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to dive on into this, right? And is this working? No, it doesn't look like that's working. Okay, we don't need it. Okay, let's get started. let's start the party up. Okay, so for those of you who maybe are just joining now and haven't seen the other ones, you can go back and watch the replays later. But basically, we started off with the beginning steps of your job search, and just to cut to the chase on that a little bit, it's not probably where you would think. You don't start with your resume, right? Most people think that that's the starting point. The starting point is to go and look at job postings that you think you would be interested in applying for. Why would you do that? Because that's how you're going to figure out how to best build your resume. You want to make sure that, first of all, you know, the job that you're looking for is out there. And you want to search for not just the top job title you're interested in, but also search for the skills, because sometimes different companies are using different terminology for the job title, but it's the same job. So don't limit yourself. You know, don't always search for this one thing. If, you know, it turns out that there's 2 or 3 other variations of that job title, make sure that you're aware of those so that you can include those in your job searches. Then once you have that, then you can work on your resume. And then from there, you know, you can build into, you know, getting ready for the interviews and making sure if it applies that you have samples, all that kind of good stuff. So that's been the last 3 or 4 shows that we've done. Those are all out there on Periscope, they're on YouTube, and they're on Facebook. So you can go back and you can see those. On YouTube and on Facebook, I set up playlists so that you can just jump right into those. Sorry, Periscope, I haven't figured out how to do that yet. I don't think you can yet. But tonight what we're going to do is we're just going to wrap it all up. So maybe you don't have the time to go through the last 4 shows. So I've taken the high points of all the other conversations that we've had, and I boiled them down to these top 10 tips. Of course, if any one of these, you know, you need some more information on, feel free to ask. You can ask in the chat. You can post right now. Or if you're catching this on the replay, you can still go ahead and post it in the chat. The only difference is on Periscope, you're going to need to tweet or DM me because you can't do chats after the fact. But I always do go back and check to see if anybody has any comments after the fact. So please don't hesitate. Go right ahead. There was one more thing I wanted to say. It went right out of my head. Oh well, it'll come back. Probably halfway through. All right, are we ready? Is everybody ready to dive in? It looks like we have everything up and running. Yes? Awesome. Okay, so let me bring this up. Yeah, we might as well have my face on it. Okay, so we're going to go through the top 10 tips for your job search and your resume tips, because you can't separate these two out. The two go hand in hand, right? Okay. The usual follow stuff, we already covered that. Okay, so the number 1 tip is to use your network. Now, some people get hung up when they're looking for a job. You know, maybe they got laid off, maybe the company went out of business, or maybe you're looking for a job while you have a job, maybe you're just looking for a change of pace, what have you. Whatever your reasoning is, don't be embarrassed. The only valid concern that you could possibly have, which I, you know, understand, and this is a reality for a lot of people, is that if you are looking for a job while you have a job, of course you don't want your boss or your coworkers to find out. That would not work out well for you. So, you know, in that case, you do want to be a little careful about using your network. Basically, you know, what you want to do is if you're going to post your resume to the job sites, or if you're going to put it on LinkedIn, if you're going to update your LinkedIn profile, just make sure that before you do that, you go in and you turn off the broadcast might change thing in LinkedIn, so that the people who are following you won't automatically get that blast because maybe your boss is following you. And a lot of times when you submit your resume to the different job sites, you can specify that, you know, you don't want your resume shown to certain companies. So if that is there, make sure you take advantage of it. Other than that, don't be shy. Let people know you're looking. Talk to your friends, your neighbors, you know, the mail carrier, whoever. You know, put the word out. You know, don't make everything, you know, sales pitch, but just casually mention everybody. Hey, you know, if you know anybody who's, you know, got an availability, I'm looking, you know, that type of thing. But you never know. You never know who is going to be the connection to your next job. But the point here is, you know, yes, use your network. That is absolutely critical, and don't be shy about it. But also, post your resume on the job sites. Build your automated search so that you get notified of the new postings that come up. You know, talk to the recruiters. If you have companies that you're interested in, make sure you're checking their websites on a regular basis. They all have some sort of career link. And of course, LinkedIn. If you're looking for a job, however you feel about LinkedIn, you got to put aside and just go ahead and make sure that you've got your profile there, because to a lot of recruiters, if you're not on LinkedIn, you don't exist. It's just how it is. So that would be number 1. Number two, so this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. Make sure that before you spend time either building your resume or updating your resume, that first you've gone and you've done a little research. See what job titles come up for your skills. See, you know, for the job title that you're looking for, the job titles that you're looking for, see how the postings are worded, because you want to make sure that you're mirroring back the words and phrases that they've got listed in those job postings. You also want to make sure that in your resume you are referencing at least some subset of the tools that they're saying this person needs to have in order to be hired, because, as we talked about in depth in one of the other sessions, the first person to see your resume is very likely not a person. It's probably some sort of bot or algorithm or OCR tool that's going through and just looking for word matches. So you want to make sure that you're getting those there. And even when you do finally get to a person, very often the person who is doing the hiring, either a recruiter or in an HR department, they may not understand what you do for a living. And again, they may have just been given, okay, a checklist of the person, you know, save me resumes that have these things in it. So you want to make sure that your resume has those things in it so that you get to the person who's actually doing the hiring, the person that you can talk to and then impress with your skills and your problem solving. The other part of this that is absolutely key. I am the last person on the planet to tell anybody that they have to be perfect, except in this case. You need to make sure that your resume is flawless. Same for your cover letter, any emails that you send, any samples that you provide either ahead of time or bring with you. This is not a time to have that misspelled word, to, you know, have things out of alignment, just to have bad grammar. This is the wrong time, because you got to remember, especially with a resume, the whole point of the resume is not to get you the job. The point of the resume is to get you the interview. So you don't want to do anything. You don't want any mistakes in there that would take your resume from the yes pile into the no pile. Key. So make sure that you're not just relying on yourself here. Again, this is using your network, but in a different way. Make sure that you have a trusted friend, family member, whoever, not your mom who's going to tell you that everything you do is wonderful. You need somebody who's going to be honest with you, who's going to look at these things with a hard, cold eye and tell you what needs to be fixed. The human brain is funny. When you've been working on a document for a while, even if there's a big glaring error, the odds are that your brain's going to skip right over it because your brain knows what you meant. The person you're giving your resume to doesn't. So give it to a third party who will look at it with, you know, an objective eye and who will give you that feedback that you need and catch those errors before somebody else is going to see them and then put your resume into the no pile. Very, very important. I'm just checking again because we got a little blip here, but we look like we're good. Yes? Awesome. Okay. I always forget. I really should remember to bring up a backup because I know sometimes the comments don't come up. So give me a moment while I be paranoid here. Okay. All right, let's go on here. You're going to see, now this is particularly for BAs, programmers, UI, UX, anything on the technical side. You're going to see this a lot, but it comes up for other job titles too. They're going to say, you know, domain experience is absolutely required. You must have domain experience in financial. You must have domain experience in healthcare. And you know what? Oops. I should do this without me because I'm blocking it. It's a wonderful thing if you have the domain experience. You know, if you've got it, by all means, highlight it. But if you don't let that be a stopping point for you. You know, that they've already got domain experience in-house. That's why they're in the line of business that they're in. So, you know, if you don't have the domain experience, then just be prepared to explain how quickly you learn things and give examples of how you've learned other domains beforehand. And that way they won't have the hang up. Hang on one second. That way it won't be a stopping point for you. To be honest, most of the time when I've run into this, it's it's the headhunters and the recruiters that have the real dig in their heels attitude towards it. But once I explain all the other domains that I had never worked before and learned very quickly and then was very successful in, it takes the wind out of that argument for them. So yes, if you have the domain experience, wonderful thing. But if you don't, that is not a reason to not apply if you have the rest of the skill set that they're looking for. Okay, moving along. This is super important. Do not work with headhunters, recruiters, companies that you do not feel comfortable with. This is absolutely key. If you get a bad feeling, if they are suggesting things to you that you are not comfortable with, for example, I have had many times in the past recruiters insist that lying on my resume would be a good thing. It's not. It's never a good thing to lie, especially on your resume. So follow your gut instinct. If you're getting a bad feeling, thank them for their time and move on to the next one. There's a lot of bad ones out there, and you do not want to waste your time on it. Like I said, it's a hard enough thing looking for a job. It's a big time suck. It's a full-time job. So if you're getting a bad vibe, move on. There's other ones out there. And these ones who tell you, well, we're an exclusive and you're never going to work again, that's all garbage. Don't worry about it. The days of exclusive job postings are pretty much over also. So please, please, please don't work with people that you are not comfortable with. And trust your instincts on that. That would be very important. Okay. Why are we frozen? Hang on. We have technical issues. Okay, there we go. It came back. So let me come back here. Oh, no, I guess I'm still taking up too much space. I went with too big a font, clearly. Portfolios and examples aren't just for artists and designers. So, okay, let's talk about this for a minute. What am I saying here? When you hear the word portfolio, most people think about, the artiste with the beret on their head and the paint on their fingers, all that kind of good stuff. That graphic designers, people, those are the job titles where people usually expect that you're going to bring or provide a link to a portfolio. So that's why, maybe that word isn't the one to use. But my point is, examples of the work that you've done, if that is something that applies to you. Now, I understand, if you are a CDL truck driver, okay, yeah, it's going to be kind of tough to bring along the trucks that you've driven. But if you are an administrative assistant, if you are a business analyst, which is my usual group to talk to, if you are a grant writer, whatever it is that you're doing, somewhere along the lines, the odds are very high that you've had to create some sort of materials, whether they're charts, graphs, some kind of documents, or reports. If you've got those and it's something that was part of a successful project, by all means, make sure you bring those along. And the other side of this coin is if you are new to the market, okay, or if you are returning to the job, to the workforce, if you are looking maybe to transition from one job title to another, maybe it's a parallel move, you've been working alongside somebody in a job title, you think that's a better fit for you. These are also other opportunities to bring in these kinds of examples. But if it's something where maybe you don't already have the examples from your daily work, you can create those on your own. And I did a couple of sessions about that, but the short version of it is, let's just take, for an example, let's go with the BAs, because that's kind of the world we talk to here. As a BA, you've got to create workflows, you've got to create matrices, you've got to create documentation, maybe you've got to create wireframes. So if this is a job title that you're looking to move into, and you just haven't had the chance to do that, look around your world and create those kinds of documents for those types of things. So the example that I used recently was that terrible thing that happened in Hawaii with the false alarm that went out about the incoming missile. Clearly, there was a problem there. So that's a type of example that you can take and say, okay, this is how I would approach solving that problem. Obviously, you're going to have to make some huge choices. You don't have the inside information, but that's okay. This is not about you actually solving that problem. They've got people working on that right now. This is about showing how you think through a problem, how you think about not just the obvious cases, but the branching cases, the positive, the negative, the errors, all those kinds of things, and how you can present those decisions that you're making, that information that you're collecting, and how you can explain it. Those are the things that will tell somebody whether or not you're going to be a good fit for their environment and for this job. If that's too heady for you, you can simplify it way down. Do something like, how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I mean, it sounds silly, but it really can be that simple, because it's not so much about the topic, it's about how you approach it and how you approach the problem, and the fact that you are detail-oriented and you are clear and you communicate, and that the materials that you're providing, you can put down and you can explain your decisions and why somebody could take it and read it and understand. Those are the key factors. So again, whether you're just looking for another job and you've got examples from your previous work, whether you're new to the workforce, returning to the workforce, or looking to just change job titles, there are ways for you to create these kinds of examples that you can bring and or, maybe share ahead of time if you feel like you need that leg up to get your resume noticed. It's all key. Okay, again, this is not going to apply to everybody, but there are a lot of job titles, and it's becoming more and more common to see, certification in whatever is required. Now, obviously, if we're talking brain surgery, then yes, you do need to be a medical doctor. You do need to have all of your degrees and certificates and all that kind of stuff. But again, this is sort of like the domain thing. It may not really matter, okay? I'm going to go with my favorite example, okay? You can go to the most expensive college on the planet, but if all you're going to do is sit in your dorm room and drink and hang out and play games and not get anything from your education, you may still get that piece of paper, but that doesn't mean that you actually learned anything, okay? And it's the same thing with certification. If you want to go get certification, that's great. There's nothing wrong with having it. But my point is, it's not the magic wand that's going to get you a job. It does not prove really anything other than you took a course and paid for it. But if you want to, after, you've started to, work in your area and you want to get that to fill out your resume a little more, that's great. Absolutely go for it. But don't see that as a replacement for all of the work of learning the job, having the skills, keeping your skills sharp, and making sure that you're doing all the other hard work with the resume and the research and the networking and all that. Because the certification, I don't care what they say in the ad that makes you buy the program, it is not magic. It is not going to suddenly magically open doors for you. This is work. This is hard work, but it is worth it because at the end of it, you are hopefully going to get a job that pays you well, that makes you feel fulfilled, makes you feel like you're contributing. So, end of rant on that one. Let me just check in. Yes. I'm sorry. Yes, I do get a little ranty on that one. I can't help it. It's just something that bothers me. Okay. So we'll keep going here. Don't be afraid to apply for a job. That sounds silly, right? But a lot of people will get hung up and overly critical of themselves. Oh, well, this job posting has got a dozen things, and I can only do 11 of them. Okay. Every job posting that has ever been written is a wish list. It is a search for a unicorn. It is searching for the perfect mate, okay? They don't really expect that you're going to have every last thing to every last detail at exactly the level they want. What they're looking for is the best possible match. So if you have most of the skills, then go ahead and apply. If you feel like you're lacking in something, you can go and take a course if you've got the money and the time to go do that. If you don't, you can hit the internet and find free courses that will help you brush up. If it's a particular software tool maybe that you're feeling like maybe you're a Microsoft Office person and that's all you've ever worked in, but the job posting that you really, really are interested in mentions that they're only using the Google version, so Google Docs, Google Sheets, that kind of thing. No problem. Go spend a few hours. Especially in the Google world, it's free. There's plenty of online training. You can build some documents, get comfortable with it, and that will solve your problem. Don't let one or two little things hold you back from what could be the perfect job. Doesn't have to be 100% match. Just like everything else in life, everybody's going to have to make adjustments. It's their job to hope for the very best possible, and it's your job to try the same for yourself. So nobody's making any mistakes here. Nobody's doing anything wrong, but also don't let this derail you if it is something that you feel absolutely that you could do. And maybe there's just a couple of things you're going to have to learn. Just like you're going to have to learn where the restrooms are and get your badge so you can access the building. There's always something you're going to have to learn. So don't let that hold you back. Okay, this is a big one. Do not be afraid. No, I still can't bring myself up. Sorry. Am I blowing past these? I'm sorry. There we go. I do want you to at least see this. We did this one. Okay. Yes. Okay. So we did the certification. You don't have to. It's not necessarily a requirement, even if they say it is. Don't be afraid to apply. You don't have to be the 100% match. Okay. Do not be afraid of being classified as an employee or a contractor or a consultant or however they phrase it. Okay, so what am I talking about here? Come on. Everything's a little sticky tonight. There's a little lag, and I rebooted everything. I don't know why. Oh, well. Okay, so, things are changing. Just like I was saying earlier, the days of getting a job, working for 50 years, getting a gold watch and a pension are gone. the whole concept of being an employee and what a contractor or a consultant or a freelancer is, it's all getting kind of muddy. There are all kinds of, let's call them games. There's all kind of games being played. You're a part-timer. Instead of a 50-hour week, you're working a 42-hour week. We're not hiring employees. We're only hiring contractors. Blah, blah. Again, don't get too hung up on how they classify you, with one exception that I'm going to cover in a second. But the days of any of these words having a stigma attached to them are gone. Just like there's really not that much of a stigma anymore to what used to be considered job hunting. Once upon a time, if somebody looked at a resume and saw that every 2 or 3 years you changed jobs, they would not look on you so well. But these days, the way companies start and close and get bought out and resize, this is normal. This is just how things are. It's great if you can spend 10 years in a job. That's a wonderful thing. But it is rapidly not becoming the norm. So it's the same thing with these things. These are just terms. For a lot of companies, it's just a tax thing that they're playing with, or some government regulation. There's reasons why they like to put you in certain buckets. And as long as you're interested in the work and it feels like a good place to work and you're interested in the projects that you would be working on, don't let that throw you off. With one big exception here, you have to be aware of, and really at this point, I would say even with an employee, I would verify this. Who is paying for benefits, and are benefits offered, okay, or do you have to go get them on your own? Insurance, is that insurance required, and if so, who's paying for it? Is there paid vacation? Are there paid holidays? Is there paid sick time? All these kinds of things. These are the things you need to look at. This is what used to be called, this is considered like the benefits. So, like if you get a job for $30,000 a year, but you're getting paid vacation and you're covering at least part of your benefits, used to be all. Now you're usually having to kick in for it. Maybe you get life insurance because you're working there, whatever. All of those other things. It's not just the salary that you're getting, okay, but it's the salary plus the vacation time and the holidays and the sick time and the health insurance and maybe life insurance or whatever else. That whole bundle is your compensation package, okay? There's a number, whether you know what that number is or not. I mean, you know the 30,000, but you don't know what maybe the whole nut is. You can bet somebody in HR does. So if you're going to talk about a job and they're saying, okay, well, we wouldn't bring you in as an employee, we would bring you in as a contractor, consultant, freelance, whatever word they're using, ask those questions. Okay, well, fine. Before we talk about salary or, pay rate, let's talk about, okay, well, does this mean I'm getting paid for, and this is not the first conversation, this is as you're getting ready maybe to accept the job. Don't make this the early conversation, this is late in the process, but find out, is there paid holidays? Is there paid vacation? Is there health benefits included? All those kinds of things. Because if the answer is no, that's okay. But that means that, that $30,000 job, what happens is, they're like, $30,000. Okay, so, you get $30,000 and so, we'll calculate that out. And so whatever the hourly rate is for that. But that's not the number. The number is for the whole package. So if you're going in and they're like, okay, we want you to be a consultant, but we're going to pay you $30,000, but you have to pay for all the rest of it. You say no, because I've got to pay for all this other stuff, and you're not paying for it. So that means that needs to be included in the money that I'm getting, because now you're going to have to pay for it. And I can tell you from personal experience that just the healthcare alone is a staggering number here in the U.S. Okay, so let's say right now, you're making $30,000 a year, but you get health benefits, and so maybe that's costing you, $55 a paycheck, or $55 a week, depending on what your pay cycle is. When you go out to get health care on your own, assuming it's just you, okay, if it's a family, it's even more expensive, but it's just you, you've got to figure for a very basic one, you're looking at like $800 a month, probably more. You have to factor that in. You have to factor in the fact that, just because they're closed, if they close the office for a holiday, you're not getting paid. If you're going to take a vacation, you're not getting paid. If you get sick, you're not getting paid. You need to factor all that in, so you've got to make sure that that number is much higher. In particular, be careful with the headhunters. The headhunters love to play this game. Oh, okay, well, if you were going to be an employee, this would be $30,000, so, we're going to pay you whatever that is as an hourly rate. No. You really want to shoot for triple that hourly rate in order to cover everything, because you've also got, it's not just that, so you're going to cover everything. You're going to have to pay your taxes. You're going to have to pay for your own health care. You're going to have to find and pay for your own health care. You're going to have to pay for life insurance, health insurance, if there's any business related insurance, your holidays, your vacation time, your sick time. I mean, there's so many things. What I will say to you is, if you've not done this before, if you've always been an employee and this is your first journey into this other world, find yourself an accountant. Even if you just do a quick consult with them. It's not very expensive, and the money that it will save you long term and the stress it will save you long term is more than worth it. So definitely go and do that. I have been flipping back and forth for years. I'm set up to handle it. So, I've got, an LLC set up, which is another thing you're going to want to consider. But go into it with your eyes open, understand what you're talking about, and don't let the big number throw you, because that number is not as big as you think it is by the time you take care of everything you need to take care of. Okay, let me just check. I want to make sure, because if there's any questions specifically about that, I want to talk about that now, because that is a big deal, especially for people who have not done it before. If you have, then you can, please, if you have other experiences that you want to share, please do. But otherwise, let me just double check. No, okay. All right, so we're all good on that. If you think of something later on, please feel free to reach out, because this is, for people who've never done it before, this can be a little bit of a new world kind of thing. Okay. We're almost through. Okay. This is another one, and well, we'll get into that in a second, but okay. What you're making today doesn't matter. I don't care how hard they push, it does not matter. Focus on what is a fair rate for this new job. Okay? This is another biggie. I'll come back here. I really should have said 10 rants about looking for a job. Sorry, but I worry about people, because it's so easy to get tripped up if you're hitting one of these for the first time. So the first thing I want to say is, this hopefully is going to start to go away, because slowly, at least here in the US, it's becoming illegal to ask for this information. It is one thing that people like to push. So I'm going to give you my ridiculous example, okay, to kind of help make sense of this for you, okay? So let's say that you're selling luxury cars, right? And I come in to buy a luxury car from you, okay? It's, a Lamborghini or Rolls Royce or whatever, okay? And I'm looking around, I take the test drive and everything, and I find the car that I want. And so I say to you, as the owner of this shop, that, okay, I want this car, I want all the bells and whistles in it, I want, lifetime oil changes, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, sure, no problem, we can work all this into the contract. And I say, and, since I paid $500 for my beater car that I have out there, I'm going to pay $500 for this, because that's what I paid for my car beforehand. Would you expect that to work? Of course not. They're going to look at me like I'm insane and throw me out. But that's exactly what companies try to do and headhunters try to do to you when you're looking for a job. They're like, well, how much are you making now? Okay, well, we'll give you $2,000 over that. That's not what you're negotiating about. What you're doing now has nothing to do with this job. You need to negotiate the rate for this job based on this job. Current market conditions, your skill set, what you're bringing to the table, the pain points you're going to be solving for these people by being hired. That's where the number comes from, not from what you got paid before. Okay, again, we'll be extreme. Let's say that, you're new to the workforce and you've been working as a babysitter for $15 an hour, and now you're going to go get a job as an administrative assistant. The fact that you've been getting paid $15 an hour as a babysitter has nothing to do with the fact that now you're going to be working as an administrative assistant. So it's not even open for discussion. And they will push. They will absolutely push for this, because, again, their goal is to get the very best talent, the very best person for the job, for as little money as possible. I want to say that there's nothing wrong with that. There is kind of something wrong with that, but okay, whatever. Let's just say that there's nothing wrong with that, and we'll leave that as a gray area. Your job is to get the best possible job for you, the best possible work experience, the best possible, work situation for you at the best possible rate for you. And somewhere between those will be reality. Make sure you don't undermine yourself going into this. You have to know your worth. You have to have done your research again, know what's a fair market value, not just for the job, but for that job in that area. For example, an administrative assistant in New York City, the average rate for that is going to be different than the administrative assistant in Kansas. You may be doing the same exact job, even for the same exact company, but because of the other factors of the location and all that type of stuff, the numbers will be different. The competition in the market, So again, you need to make sure you do the research. Got to keep in mind, as harsh as this may sound, the only person looking out for you in this process is you. So if you are counting on other people to give you the right number, you can be sure you're not going to get paid what you're worth. You're not going to get paid what you should. You need to know what it is that's important to you. Now, there's some room for negotiation here. Maybe a little bit of flexibility in your day is worth a couple of $1,000s off of the rate. Those are the things you have to look at. You do have to look at the big picture, but, make sure that you've got all of this very clearly laid out. And before you accept the job, make sure you get it in writing. Anything that is not written down, even if they say, oh, don't worry about it, we'll remember, we'll take care of that between us. If it's not written down, it doesn't exist. So make sure that once it's all agreed to, before you quit your current job and start this new job, make sure you've got it all in writing. That's a big one. All right, we're going to the last one here. Are we ready? Dun, da, da, da. Yes. Make the interview a two-way discussion. This is huge. So many people go into job interviews in their very best clothes with their examples or not, depending on the job, and they sit there very meekly answering questions. Okay, maybe there's nothing technically wrong with that, but you're only doing half of the picture here. It's as important as it is for the interviewer to be finding out in this discussion whether or not you're the right person for the job. You need to be interviewing the company to make sure that it's the right job and company for you. So this absolutely needs to be a two-way discussion. Sure, you're in their house, you're going to be polite, you're going to let them start. But you're also going to want to be proactive about asking your questions. You're going to have gone in with the information. You're going to have done your research on this company. You're going to want to make sure that you get details about the position and who you're going to be reporting to and the environment that you're working in as part of this discussion. Because, again, you don't want to put all this time and effort into finding a new job to end up someplace that makes you miserable. So, yes, you will need to answer their questions. You need to be able to address their concerns. You need to make sure that you are presenting yourself in the best possible light and explaining why you would be the perfect fit for this job. But don't forget to ask the questions that are important to you too. Again, don't start by focusing on time off, money, all that kind of stuff. Start off with the focus on the job and the duties and the responsibilities and all that kind of stuff. The other stuff you will get into later. It is important. Just make sure you don't put the cart before the horse. You don't want to start by talking about dessert. You want to start talking about the preparation for dinner and eating the dinner, all that kind of good stuff. To stretch a metaphor, if you don't mind. Okay, that was it. That was number 10. I'm going to do one quick check here just to make sure that I have answered all of the questions. Yes, I anticipated your question. That's good, right? That's why we do this here. Okay, and we will do one here. Excellent. Okay, awesome. So, like I said, we've done the other sessions. If you haven't, if you didn't catch them, by all means, go right ahead and, you can go and catch the replays. You can also come visit us at thebazone.com. If you're catching this on a replay on Periscope and you have a question, comment, you can reach out to us on Twitter at thebazone. You can DM or tweet us, whatever you like. You can also reach us. We're on Instagram, we're on Periscope, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we have our website. Why do we do this? Because we want to be wherever it is that you're most comfortable interacting. So if you have any questions, comments, if you want to follow up, if you need some more details about something, if you're having trouble finding the previous sessions and you'd like to see them, just let us know. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you. We're here to share this information. And by all means, if you also have, let's say that, you were thinking about this and then you're like, oh, I wish I had thought I wanted to, tell this story. I wanted to share this tip that I found really successful. That's what this is the other part of what we're here for. We're a community here. We're all sharing information. So if you've got something you'd like to share, by all means, go and post it. If you need for some reason to do it anonymously, let us know and we will post it anonymously for you. Okay, again, whatever works for you works for us. Okay, so for those of you who've been following the saga, we actually normally, this is a duo. Normally my co-founder, Marianne, is here. She's been going through some things with life. I am hopeful that she will be here next week. If so, then we're going to have that discussion that we've been talking about since the beginning of the year about what makes a good BA. If you're thinking about getting into it, what skills, you know, what personality traits, that type of thing. So if she's available, because this really needs to be a back and forth between the two of us because we don't agree about all of it. So if she's able to come back next Tuesday, that's what we're going to do. If not, then I will come up with a plan B. But since I don't know what that is, I can't tell you. So if you want to stay ahead, if you want to know what we're going to be doing next week, because we do these shows every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, please, please, please follow us on Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube. Make sure you click whatever the bell or, you know, whichever notification will let you know when we're going to go live. If you want to be absolutely sure, make sure that you go and you sign up for our mailing list. You can go to the website and fill out the form there, or if you're on Facebook, you can just go ahead and hit the messenger and go and do that. Actually, let me see if I can bring that up for you. Sorry, wrong one. Hang on one second. Let me see if I can bring that up. Because I know some people have trouble finding stuff on Facebook, and don't blame yourself. I do too. So, hang on. Come on, load quickly. Yeah. Got too much stuff open. Okay, we can get into that later. All right, so I should do this as a visitor. Okay, so if you are on Facebook and you want to get in touch with us, this is probably the fastest way to do it. If you go into the messenger, you can come here and you can just type us a message. This was me testing the bot, which we're going to eventually have. But you can also see here, so you can just message and I will respond to you and I will give you the link or the information that you're looking for. For everybody else, if you're looking to join the mailing list, if you go to thebazone.com / I think it's mailing list. Yes, it's mailing list. No spaces. That's where you'll get the form that you can go and fill out. Sorry, I'm doing this and you can't see it. Hi, see? There we go. So let me back up. And let me zoom in. Need some music, right? So I'm worried about you seeing my hand, but of course you can't see that here. Okay, so this is what you're looking for on the site. If you go over here where the send message button is and you click on it, now you're just going to see my tests in here, but you can just come down here and type us a message and then I will get back to you. You can also click on this little hamburger here and you can visit the website. You can get help, tech support from us for just about our site. And again, this is another way to join the mailing list. So lots of ways to do it. And by doing that, you will get notified about what we're doing, when our next show is, what the topic is. And if you follow us, let me turn this off again, sorry. So if you come over here and you do, liked, if you like us, can I do this? And then you follow, okay, and then what you want to do, so first if you like us, and then that'll get you so that you're following the page, and then you go to following, and then what you need to do is you need to make this see first, and you want to turn on all notifications. So you want to make sure that you're getting the events, is like, so if we're going to have a special event, when we go live, all those kinds of things. If you make sure that this is clicked and you have this, then you'll always get the latest information about what we're doing and when we're going to go live on the show. Okay? So I know that there was some confusion about that, so I wanted to make sure we covered that. Okay. So I think we are good to go now. I'm going to do one last pass through. Everybody looks good. Everybody's happy. That's what we like to see. We like to see everybody happy. That's a good thing. If you're just joining, I see some people are just joining now. This has been a wrap-up of the information from the previous shows, because all month we've been talking about finding a job, working on your resume, getting through the interview process, all that good stuff. So if you're just joining us, you'll be able to catch the replay in a little bit. If you would like to dive in deeper on any of these topics, you can go to Periscope, Facebook, YouTube, and on Facebook and YouTube I've set up playlists. Periscope you have to dig around a little bit, but it's the last few shows. And then you can watch the sessions where I dove in deeper on each one of these topics. Okay? The last point I want to leave you with is, please, 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 if you are looking for a job and you are stressing out, please remember that you're not alone. Please remember that you will find a job. You just have to put the work in. And remember, while it is a full-time job, looking for a job, and that's even more of a challenge while you have a job, you do want to keep some balance. So there's no replacement, there's no magic wand for the work, but you also want to go and play with the dog, take a walk, go to the movies. Keep that balance, because you also need to be healthy as you're going through this process, and you need to just keep reminding yourself that you're valuable, you're bringing skills to the table, and that you will find a job. And you just want to make sure that you take that extra time, that extra second, to make sure that it is the right job for you. Because again, you don't want to put all this effort in and end up in a job that makes you miserable. There's a lot of good jobs out there. There's a lot of good companies, a lot of good teams to join. So just keep your mind open. Remember, don't get too locked into a job title. Also search for skill matches, because really what they call you isn't important as long as they call you, right? Okay, folks. We will be back next week. Between here and there, if you have any questions, comments, problems, please feel free to reach out. That's what we're here for. And have a good one. We will talk soon. Bye.